Best. It's Thursday here on The Story, and tonight, a major update in a lawsuit filed by an Eastern Oregon mom who argued that a state policy around foster care violated her First Amendment rights. Plus, today, Governor Tina Kotek celebrating a big funding boost for her statewide plan for homeless shelters. The bad habit, she says, the state needs to quit. But first, I recently did a story about a homeless woman, 9 months pregnant and addicted to fentanyl. Well, turns out there are resources to help women just like her, and it's our big story tonight. You may remember Stephanie Gomez, a homeless woman I met last week, living on the streets of Portland's Old Town neighborhood. She was 9 months pregnant and addicted to fentanyl. Stephanie told me she became homeless after losing everything in a divorce. Once on the streets, she turned to fentanyl. She said she'd been out there for about a year and a half. Getting pregnant was not planned.
I'm not really worried about it. It seems like a lot of people that have delivered with fentanyl seem to be okay. Their kids seem to be okay. There's been quite a few pregnancies out here, but everyone else is taking it pretty well. There's been a lot of people having babies and going to rehabs and things like that. So
do you think this will be kind of the turning moment for you?
Possibly, yeah.
On that day I met Stephanie, volunteer outreach workers were trying to get her into a program called Project Nurture, a group helping pregnant women struggling with addiction. Stephanie had a hard time deciding if she wanted to go.
I feel just overwhelmed right now. I don't necessarily want to go and deal or just, I don't know.
So this past Sunday, Stephanie gave birth to a baby boy in the hospital, her 5th child. Many of you who saw the story last week wrote into us, including her family. They didn't know Stephanie was alive until they saw her on TV. They spent the weekend searching for her in Old Town. They were able to reunite at the hospital. I'm told today she's still at the hospital and doing well. I'm told the baby had some breathing issues at first and has been getting care in the NICU. But her story highlights a vulnerable side of homelessness, a side we don't often hear or know about. Pregnant women struggling with addiction. I've been told by many women on the streets how dangerous it is for them in regards to things like sexual assault and how sexual favors are often traded for drugs. But there are resources for these women in Portland.
We do have women who are pregnant and or parenting seeking care pretty often.
We probably see a pregnant woman in withdrawal management weekly.
Okay, those 2 women work at Fora Health in Southeast, one of the city's 2 large-scale residential treatment and withdrawal management centers. Pregnant women struggling with addiction are pushed to the top of their wait list, almost always guaranteed a bed. Women like Taylor Tuttle. She's a new mom, now 1 year clean after staying at Fora for 90 days last year.
I came in here when I was about 3 months pregnant with her. I think it helped me stick with it, for sure. I think that it was easier for me to get through it because I had a definitive reason, it was on my body every day. So I was yeah, this is kind of really important.
Well, Fora Health recently partnered with Project Nurture to try and help women like Taylor keep custody of their children. Through that partnership, every week the women meet with a doula and a peer mentor, someone with similar lived experience.
So the hope is that they come into the hospital and are able to keep their baby with them. But yeah, there's obviously health risks associated with that, safety risks, and that's why we're just so committed to making sure they get the help they need so that it doesn't come to that point.
Now, it's no secret, there's a lot of stigma around homeless pregnant women living with addiction. They can face a lot of judgment, which can stop them from asking for help, which is dangerous because this type of medical attention can be life-saving for both the mother and child.
When you look at substance use, across the board that marginalizes a community when you have substance use disorder. Well, then we add in a layer that you're a woman, that further marginalizes you, and then you're a pregnant woman. Well, that really isolates you if you have substance use disorders of any kind, because that's when judgment really kicks in. For some reason, our society has decided that we have the right to opinion over somebody's pregnancy. And that makes women fearful of seeking care.
I think a lot of people don't think that we'll get to a point where they don't think people care about them anymore. And if you think people don't care about me, then what's the What's the, what's the reason to get better?
Do you think she saved your life?
Yeah, 100%. I don't think I would have kept with anything without having my baby, for sure. I think what it boils down to is that people identify with that problem a lot, but what happens is you have to just completely destroy the identity that for me, it was easy because I went from alcoholic to mom.
It's amazing. Taylor has grown and changed and transformed. One of the things she said to me when she got here, she said, "Meredith, do you remember when I first got here and I wasn't sure I'd know how to be a mom and you told me I'd figure it out?" She told me I figured it out.
Okay, but Taylor's story is not the case for so many other women living on Portland streets. Again, take Stephanie, who we talked about earlier, as just one example. Well, here's the message those at Fora Health have for those who are homeless and using while pregnant.
I would say just get connected with some kind of support. If you aren't feeling ready to stop using substances, you can still seek help from Project Nurture, and they'll still and Fora Health, and we'll still serve you and wrap you with the support you need. The end goal isn't always sobriety. Sometimes it can just be connection, community, unconditional love from your providers, right? So I just tell the women who are struggling with whether or not to come into care, just get connected with someone.
It's all here if you want it. Like, it's everything you could want is here. And there's so many people who don't have that or know that.
This emergency that's facing our state will be with us for a while.
Today, Governor Tina Kotek was at a homeless shelter in Tigard, celebrating her new statewide plan to tackle the crisis that she just signed into law. The new law includes more than $200 million meant for addressing homelessness across the state for the next 2 years. Since the governor's first day in office in 2023, housing and homelessness, she says, has been her top priority. On day one, she declared a statewide homelessness state of emergency aimed at connecting people to services and opening new shelters. Well, House Bill 3644 will, in part, keep those shelters open long term.
This bill not only codifies and explains and provides the framework for the work we're doing across the state and communities across the state, but it also funds them for the next 2 years.
We need to make this all make sense. We need a structure so that when we are putting money into shelter, people know what to expect.
And speaking of funding, Governor Kotek wants to get out of a bad habit she says the state is stuck in when it comes to money meant for homelessness, one that we've seen often here in Multnomah County too.
We also need to get out of the pattern of one-time funds. The biggest debate in the session around this bill was, how long can we have this resource? How long do we need to be doing this? And I would say we need to be sustainable, we need to be committed, because we need to send a message to the folks who need help and to the folks who are providing the help that we are with you in this fight.
Governor Kotek says the state is on track to pay for over 4,800 shelter beds and get more than 3,000 people off the streets, while at the same time preventing another 24,000 people from becoming homeless.
But let's remember, when we talk about those numbers, it means real people, Oregonians, who are struggling or suffering or have had a crisis in their life. And by providing a warm place to call home, or at that shelter, that transition spot, we are building a more prosperous and healthier state.
Now, as for that more than $200 million set aside under this new law, it's the state's Office of Housing and Community Services that will be responsible for handing out that money, setting rules around how it can be spent, and most importantly, tracking the outcomes.
We have created a shelter framework so that whatever dollars we are able to put into shelter will be distributed fairly, efficiently, and transparently, and we'll be able to continue being good and dependable partners to the communities on the ground.
The urgency that's in front of us remains. I will never be satisfied. I'm always asking what's next, where we go next, what we can do more of.
Well, turning now to a major update today on a case we've been following for more than 2 years here on The Story. A federal appeals court ruled that a mom from Eastern Oregon should be allowed to proceed with becoming a foster parent, even though she says she would not follow state rules to affirm LGBTQ kids in her care. Jessica Bates is a single mom with 5 biological kids, and she says she wants to adopt 2 more out of the foster care system. But she calls it child abuse to use a kid's chosen pronouns or provide gender-affirming medical treatment. So Oregon's Department of Human Services disqualified her from becoming a foster parent. She sued the state over the requirement, saying it violated her religious beliefs as a Christian. Well, she prevailed in her lawsuit today, and for the first time, we got to talk with Jessica Bates. She says she plans to continue with the certification process, and if a foster child comes out to her, she says they'll still be allowed to live in her house, but she won't be affirming their identity.
I'm still going to love them deeply, not going to reject them or anything. I would probably share my own history with that. That's something that hasn't been in the media, but I have my own history with that too. Just like my biologicals, I probably will not allow them to do any like permanent, any hormone injections, anything that's going to rob them of their God-given body and everything that they can't fix later. That's can't take it back, like girls getting a deep voice and those sorts of things, and your fertility, those sorts of things. I wouldn't allow them to probably, when they're 18 and they're adults, they're free.
Bates says that if a child came out to her, she also would not use their chosen name or pronouns that align with their gender identity or allow them to change the way they dress. She says she would steer the conversation back towards her faith.
But I would hope that we would have open communication where they do feel like safe, like they can talk to me about all of that and everything. But I would probably, remind them of my Christian faith that, hey, God makes our identity, and that's something sacred and holy. And it might not feel like a gift right now, and you might be struggling with it, but that's something actually really special. And you are beautiful and perfect, like just how you are right now.
She says she would not kick fostered or adopted kids out of her house if they came out, unless they were being what she calls sexually aberrant or deviating from traditional views.
Even for my biologicals, like the Christian sex ethic is very, very narrow and simple. And I don't care if they're heterosexual, homosexual, like any of the sexual activity that's outside of God's defined institution of marriage is something I would not be okay with, and in my house, kind of period.
The case now goes back to the lower federal court for reconsideration. We reached out to the Oregon Department of Human Services to see if they're going to change the requirement that foster parents affirm LGBTQ kids. So far, we have not heard back. Well, coming up next on the story, we take you to Umatilla County, where prisoners are hard at work making a popular line of denim workwear.
Kind of entered the prison with the mentality of, all right, I'm going to try to do better for myself.
The program is so popular, there's a wait list, and now it's expanding to more than just those prison blues. That's next when the story returns. For more than 30 years, a popular clothing brand has been stitched and sewed inside the Oregon prison system. A program so popular behind bars, there's a waiting list to join. Devin Haskins traveled to Eastern Oregon to learn more about the expansion of prison blues and the hands that make it.
Inside these walls, there's a constant hum. It's the sound of seconds passing, one stitch at a time. The men here have one goal.
Push out a decent pair of jeans and make sure they're nice.
Those jeans are called prison blues, a line of denim workwear made on the inside by adults in custody since 1992.
I heard that it's a good job. You can support yourself. You ain't got to be, and you're busy all day.
Donald Pitchforth joined the Prison Blues program about 2 years ago.
I learned a long time ago that if I stay busy doing something constructive, that the non-constructive will take a second lead, you know?
He knows his job.
The buttons, belt loops.
He also knows who wears them.
My kids wear them out there. My son works in construction, so he buys prison blues.
Every single pair of jeans is carefully inspected. And after sewing 305 prison blues patches this day, a mistake on each one did not pass quality control.
Yeah, they sent every pair back, so I got to take them all off.
Pitchforth was new to the sewing world when he started.
Now I know why my mom never sewed.
Many here are.
Definitely not. Never in my life I ever thought it would even.
What they also have in common is time to learn.
I have about like seven years or so left.
I still got another, 12.
I have life without parole.
They each applied to join for their own reasons. For Israel Correa, it was a chance at redemption.
Kind of entered the prison with the mentality of, all right, I'm going to try to do better for myself.
That is the hope, to not just serve a sentence, but sew with a purpose.
So we want to help them actually gain experience, gain soft skills, and then they also get to, we help them with reentry prior to their release.
Melanie Doolin is the CEO of Oregon Corrections Enterprises. OCE oversees 13 different businesses at 10 institutions, Prison Blues being one of them.
So we have wood metal manufacturing, we have a sign shop, we have specialty lines.
These jobs are a sought-after position with a waiting list. Doolin says the impact is clear. If someone sticks with an OCE program for at least 6 months, their chances of reoffending drop by half. And right now, their overall recidivism rate is just 5.5%.
So that means they're going out into society and they're being contributing members to society instead of going out and being a burden on not only taxpayers but also committing more crimes and coming back and filling our prisons.
Have I ever talked to a sewing machine? No.
John Gutierrez Alvarez had to wait about a year to get his interview.
It just talks to me, lets me know when it's angry. I started off as cuffs, making cuffs, putting them on coats, and now I'm about to take over as lead trainer.
Under the Prison Blues line, they not only have jeans, they have coats and shirts, and most recently, guitars.
40 minutes away at Two Rivers Correctional Institution,
this is something positive that I like to spend my time doing.
Sean Harris puts the finer touches on this electric guitar.
This is critical fine work for setting the string height over the fretboard.
And each guitar is made from recycled material, meaning no two are alike.
The craftsmanship is something that I really enjoy because I'm very detail-oriented. So,
within the last 6 months, OCE started making the electric guitars at Two Rivers in Umatilla.
This is actually pretty stable. Is that too loud? Do a little dirty stuff here.
So far, they've made 3. Plans to have close to 70 by year's end, and then sell them in stores. For 33 years, there's been a steady hum inside these prison walls. Sound of men learning life skills, one stitch at a time. The same hands that once caused harm are now trying to make something good, and maybe find a way to make things right.
Well, Devin Haskins joins me now. Devin, great story, but I'm curious, these guys don't work for free, right?
Right. They make a wage depending on what position they work at. They can make anywhere from just below $15 an hour to just above $22 an hour. And about 20% of that they get to keep. The other 80% goes to some of the debts they pay, like child support, alimony, taxes, and also restitution.
So tell me, how popular are these jeans?
They are a very popular brand of jeans. We went out to a logging supply store, Dick's Logging Supply out in Estacada, and asked the general manager. And they say people that come in, contractor or construction workers or loggers, they prefer the Prism Blues brand more than the name brand, nationally known.
Wow.
They are sold everywhere, not only here nationally, but also internationally. They have a store in Japan that sells them, as well as Sri Lanka. They're soon to open one up. And they said they've sold about 32,000 pairs.
My gosh.
Alone. Yeah, very popular.
Well, Devin, thanks so much for this story. Well, the president of Clackamas Community College is on a journey across the state this summer on his own 2 feet, running to each of the 17 community colleges in Oregon. It's about 1,500 miles altogether in just 50 days. Tim Cook arrived at Chemeketa Community College in Salem Tuesday. It's leg 10 of his trip to all the community colleges. He started in Ontario at Treasure Valley Community College back in June. He's averaging about 32 miles per day. That's more than a marathon each day. It's all to raise awareness and money for students who don't have what they need to excel in the classroom.
It's really about basic needs support for our students. So for several years, I've been very, very concerned about students that were living in their cars, students that didn't have enough to eat, students that couldn't pay their electric bills. They were making choices about whether to stay in school or whether they had to drop out and work. And I would talk to people about that, and I would hear things like, well, I had to eat top ramen when I was in school. I don't see what the big deal is. And I really had a visceral reaction to that and said, you know, it's much different than when many of us went to school and maybe didn't have enough money to buy everything. People are literally making life choices every day and trying to achieve their goals.
Around 200,000 students attend community college in Oregon. That's about 52% of college students in the state. Dr. Cook says that research shows 41% of community college students faced food insecurity in the last month. 52% faced housing insecurity in the last year, and 20% were homeless in the last year.
It's an issue. It's a growing issue. It's been an issue for many years, and it seems to be getting worse. I want to make sure students have access to education, and part of that is making sure they have housing and food.
Well, so far, Dr. Cook has raised about $97,000 and covered about 1,000 miles. He hopes to finish up the trip by August 6th. Today is day 39 of the journey, and he says there have been some surprises as he's trekked across the state.
Heat and elevation in some parts of our state are real, and I thought I was prepared for that, but 95-degree days, climbing 2,000, 2,500 feet was a challenge. I got a few more blisters than I thought I would, but no real injuries or anything. So in general, it's gone pretty well.
Dr. Cook's next stop is Oregon Coast Community College in Newport. If you want to donate, you can go to the website there at the bottom of your screen. We'll also have a link in this story on our website, kgw.com. Well, that is the end of our show, folks. Thanks so much for watching. The good stuff is coming your way next. And don't forget, everyone has a story to tell. If you ever miss an episode of The Story at 6:30, we re-air it at 8:30 and 10:30 on our TV app, KGW+, which you can get for free right now on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV. Well, I'm off tomorrow night with some family in town, but the team has a great plan for you. Have a great Thursday night. Tim Gordon will be with you tomorrow night at 6:30.